just watched Die Hard for the first time, and for the first time in my life, I understand the true meaning of Christmas. Thank you, Jesus. So ever since I saw it, I've been wanting to rant like a lunatic about new Star Wars. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. This is spoiler alert, all that, I'm going to be talking about stuff that happens in the movie, but I think everybody's seen the spoilers already by now. And something else I want to say is kind of an exposition is I only just saw the original Star Wars and the prequels for the first time at length, like all of them together, like 3 years ago. I'm not a Star Wars scientist or whatever. I'm not a studier of Star Wars or anything like that. I don't know the mythology too much. I don't have any of the fucking toys. I got a pair of boxers with Darth Vader on them, but that was a gift, kinda. Anyways, the first thing that I want to talk about that, at least a lot of Polacks are talking about, so to speak, is, this being some kind of SJW takeover or push. That's silly. Because think about what actually happens in the movie. It's all women in charge. Yeah, there's very female-centric, I guess, but when we get to the end of the movie, they've failed so tremendously in their leadership capacity, in their leadership roles, that the entire resistance force proper is able to pile into the Millennium Falcon together. That's what happens. Think about it, That's supposed to be a celebration of female and feminine, females in leadership positions and roles of authority. How is that a celebration of that? What? You just can't say that. Maybe that's what they were intending, but they failed utterly, don't you think? Now let's think about Luke's final appearance, so to speak, when he projects himself across a gorillion light years and all that. A lot of people had a huge problem with this scene. They wanted a genuine lightsaber duel and all of that, but I think that it's really symbolic and pretty funny if you want to look at it that way. All these women through the whole movie trying to achieve something. In the end, the only thing that gets them out of there alive is not even a flesh and blood man. It's like the idea of a man. The idea of a man, the conception of a man being there gives them enough time to escape. Point that out, if you see somebody that's saying that this is a feminist whatever, it's silly. None of that is in this. And it takes away from what's really wrong with the movie to focus on that crap. There are two things in particular that I take issue with that I haven't seen mentioned anywhere yet. Maybe I haven't looked hard enough, but it's the dice and these guys. And I want to talk about these guys first because that's the bigger issue to me. So, if you go on Wikipedia or whatever, and you look these guys up, they're Snoke's elite Praetorian Guard. They look to me like BDSM lobstermen, but whatever. And it expressly states that they are human. These are human people. At first I thought they might be droids, and that would make this a little bit less of a plot hole for me, but they're not. At least they're not supposed to be, apparently, according to people that are Star Wars studiers and Star Wars scientists. So here's the big question for me. If they had killed Rey and Kylo, if they'd been successful in what they soundlessly set out to do with extreme ferocity and a silent viciousness, what was their next step? What was next on their agenda? Were they gonna bend the knee to Hux? I have a really hard time believing that this group of warriors that were able to give such trouble to apparently the two most powerful Force users ever were gonna start listening to fucking Hux, who Snoke describes as being a weakling in front of them. It's hard to believe. Did Snoke have special instructions for them if that ever happened to him? That doesn't make any sense if Snoke really thought that he couldn't be betrayed, does it? Were they gonna get into a battle royale and murder each other and decide who was the new Snoke? Were they force sensitive? What was up with these fucking warriors? You know, I'm asking that question in the context of the story, but the answer to what was up with these fucking warriors is really simple and obvious and easy, and I got it almost 5 minutes after watching the movie when I was, out of the glorious radiance of the big screen. And yeah, I saw it in theaters. They cucked me. But, once I was out of that environment of that they make for you, that whole thing was, the mouse leaning over Johnson's shoulder and like, we're gonna need at least one lightsaber battle, Johnson, or it's your ass. And that's all it was, He needed to cram that in there. And this is part of the reason why I don't buy it being like a solo effort from Johnson. There was committee involvement. Obviously. It's just so fucking naive to think that a committee wasn't hugely involved with this super valuable IP. That's all that fight was. And so that they could maybe try to sell some Lobstermen action figures, but they can't sell any fucking action figures anymore, even from original stuff. I guess Han Solo still sells, and that's it. That's all over. That they can't sell any of these Rey dolls that they're making. So we got that whole scene that was 10 minutes long. It ranked with some of those prequel silly lightsaber battles, with all those stylish choreography and extreme length. We got that long ass scene in this long ass movie, just to have at least one genuine lightsaber fight, because Luke doesn't lightsaber fight. He just fucking cucks them. Now, the number two are those dice. When Luke projects himself, he has a nice tender moment with Leia, and it has some particular gravity because Carrie Fisher is dead now, and that makes that whole scene where she was Superwoman even more just inflammatory and awful. Throw up your hands in the theater and get scalded for it. Anyways, he gives her those dice. Then he walks out on the battlefield, he pees on Kylo's shoes, humiliates him, tricks him, punks the shit out of him, and then dies of exhaustion. And we see Kylo with a pair of the dice in his hand, with those same dice. What the fuck is going on here? Did I miss something? Did I black out for a couple of minutes? And the dice that he gives to Kylo fade away. Did the pair that he gave to Leia fade away? That would be a shitty ass thing to do to your sister, Luke. Damn. Did he float with the Force, those dice, the light years to Leia? I know earlier you see him interacting with them. Did he just leave them in the Millennium Falcon and then kind of remember them and move them to Leia and sync it up with the Force projection that he makes? And those were the real physical pair? What is going on with these fucking dice? And if you try to do it in the context of the story, it'll be really hard to make any sense of it because it doesn't make any sense. It's a little bit crazy and stupid. But if you try to do it in the context of Disney committee, write a reaction driving movie crap piece, they just figured that we'd all have forgotten. They figured that, the epicness of seeing Luke on the battlefield and all that shit, we would have forgotten all about the goddamn dice, and it would be fine with us that Kylo then finds a phony pair. If they had done one or the other and not tried to do both, it would have been pretty impactful and good. They tried to do both, and it's just like when you're reading a fucking novel and you see typos in it. You know, like I know I've found a few typos in the Dune series and in Stephen King. It's like, what the fuck? All this money into it and there's still typos? You know, I mean, I'm not gonna write them a letter like a grammar Nazi or something like that, but you know, these have been reprinted so many times and they're still making typos in them. Disney has to have some of the best editing staff in the industry, just like all of the other five fucking well, now it's just five studios, period. The four other studios have great editors and stuff, and nobody pointed this out. Nobody was like, isn't it a little weird for there to be two dice? Maybe the fact that I'm the only one pointing it out now means that it's not that big of a deal, but I think it's pretty stupid. And I think Disney thinks we're pretty stupid. And I think I might want to rant about this a little bit more. General Hollywood horseshit. But that's it for right now. You know, what the fuck's up with these guys? What the fuck's up with these dice? And even if they intended for this to be some kind of big push, cheerful victory for woman thing, it's not in any way. It's, you know, you wrote a story where the women fail start to finish constantly. So nice job, Disney. I sure hope that this is what finally begins the death knell of Hollywood.